What's happening, Who Dat Nation? Happy Monday. We got some news around the National Football League that we're going to discuss here. Could the Saints explore a big trade to shake things up on the roster? 49ers wide receiver Jauan Jennings has asked to be either extended or traded by San Francisco. So we're going to talk about the possibility of bringing him to New Orleans and whether or not he would be a fit. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up icon, and let's dive right in. So Jauan Jennings is a 28-year-old wide receiver, has been very underrated throughout the duration of his NFL career. Just 4 years in the National Football League. He's 6'3", 212 pounds, and for a team in the New Orleans Saints that are lacking a big-bodied X-receiver type presence, this could be an interesting fit for the black and gold. And PFF, he had an 83.1 grade, which was 14th out of 133 qualifying wide receiver. It can be used on the inside or on the outside. He's a very versatile wide receiver. He's very clutch when it comes to moving the chains, scoring in the red zone, and in the postseason, he absolutely lights it up. He's only had 3 incomplete passes each season in the postseason that he has played with San Francisco. And the wide receiver room in New Orleans is thin, quite literally. There's a lot of speed on this group, but not a lot of size. Bub Means is the largest wide receiver on the depth chart as it stands right now. We're going to take a look at the sizes of all these players, but when you factor in Chris Olave, you factor in Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks, the big thing for those 3 players is speed. And I do think that it is a really good thing to have a lot of fast wide receivers, but you got to have some guys that are going to just be more physical, that are going to outbody, outperform, and dudes that are just going to be really effective over the middle. I don't want to risk continuous concussions for Chris Olave, and I don't want to risk other players getting injured. So I want to see some guys that are a little bit bigger that can take some of those hits, as well as a player like Juwan Johnson, who is proven, who has done it at a high level this past season. We're going to take a look and dive into this conversation a little bit more, but I want to ask you, I want to get the pulse of the fan base. Should the Saints trade for the 49ers wide receiver? Just type trade or pass down in the comment section. I want to hear from you, Who Dat Nation. Now, Adam Schefter, he reported this early this morning. Wide receiver Jauan Jennings, who's scheduled to make $7.5 million this season, in the final year of his deal, wants a new contract or a trade per sources. The San Francisco 49ers extended Jauan Jennings' deal last year, but that does not change how Jennings feels about this year. Now, in my personal opinion, I think for a variety of reasons, Jauan Jennings would be a really, really nice fit for the New Orleans Saints offense. I think he could be very complimentary to a player like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. If Bub Means needs to take snaps off, you can plug him right in. I think that this could be a player that can help coach and teach Bub Means as well. They're very similar in terms of the size and what they're able to do. He's a very, very underrated football player in my personal opinion. And when you talk about the wide receiver group in New Orleans, if you need to see the stats, well, I told you he would be the biggest wide receiver on the depth chart. And that's not a lie. At 6'3", he would be the tallest, 212 pounds. Bub is at 215. We'll call it pretty much even right there. So Jauan Jennings, in my opinion, could be a very nice fit. He could fill a need for the New Orleans Saints. It's clearly lacking with that big body presence. Juwan Johnson, of course, could be a wide receiver, tight end, hybrid type player. But don't get it twisted. The other Jauan we're talking about, the main focus of the show, Jauan Jennings, has been extremely productive. Over the last 4 years, Jauan Johnson, you've seen the development there from his rookie season in 2021 to his most recent season in 2024 when he had the most productive year in terms of the yards and touchdowns. 12.7 yards per catch, 13.9 in 2023. This is a player I wanted the New Orleans Saints to try to bring over whenever Clint Kubiak was hired to be the offensive coordinator. And a big reason for that is because he's very good at contested catches, and I think that that's a department that the New Orleans Saints do have some skill in. I don't want it to get twisted. I'm not saying that they're terrible in that department, but I do think that they could get better, and I think that the Saints should be looking to get better. And looking to get better, I think Jauan Jennings could be an option. He's also very good in terms of the yards per route run, the EPA on the targets. He ranks highly in the National Football League. He's an underrated player. But the big question that the Saints have to answer, specifically Kellen Moore, does Jauan Jennings move the needle enough? Like, is he worth the investment? Is he worth the trade? Is he worth the money? Because don't forget, he wants to get more cash in his pocket. Rightfully so. I'm not going to blame the guy. But you also have to consider not only you're going to trade for him, but you also have to pay this player. So is he the player that's going to fit the mold? Is he the player that's going to help elevate this roster? Those are the questions that Kellen Moore has to answer. Does Jauan Jennings move the needle enough? We're going to have to find out and see. Now, if the New Orleans Saints do make a move at the wide receiver position before the start of the season, we're going to break it all down here. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're going to go live. I'm actually going on vacation next week to Gold Shores, Alabama, so if you're in the area, come say what's up. Doesn't matter. If a trade happens, I'm going to be making you guys some content. I'm going to be breaking it down here on the channel. So do not forget to subscribe. Turn on your notifications. That way you can stay informed. Now, coming up, it's important to discuss how much a trade would cost and also how much the contract would cost. So we're going to dive into the financials. We're going to dive into my trade package, and I'm going to, of course, see what you guys have to say about all of it, because this is Chat Sports, not Trizzy Sports. It's a conversation. So I want to encourage you, though, to check out this sale. 25% off today only. Chatsports.com/Saints HR sale. It's the home run sale at Fanatics. The Alvin Kamara jerseys are on sale, 25% off today only. The sale ends at 11/59/59, so do not miss out. Get your jersey today. The Saints just got those new icy white helmets. Go get yourself a Color Rush jersey to go with them. Or hell, go get yourself that sick throwback, because those are especially clean. Chatsports.com/Saints HR sale. The link is clickable in the comments and description of this video. Support the show and go get yourself some gear on sale. Now, Jauan Jennings, in my opinion, he likely wants somewhere around $20 million. And I could be convinced, you can make an argument to maybe go lower. I don't think you really need to go too much higher, but I do think around $20 million is the number you're kind of looking at. I do think he's a good football player. I do think that he's a guy that is talented, and the wide receiver market is increasing every year. And so, this is a guy who almost had 1,000 yards last season. He's going to want to get paid. And, maybe you don't pay him like a top tier receiver, but like a wide receiver 2, high-level wide receiver 3, more so wide receiver 2, I think definitely is where he wants to cash in. Now, in terms of a trade idea, I'm going to suggest for the New Orleans Saints, wide receiver for a 4th-round pick. I could also be convinced to maybe go with one of the offensive linemen. Definitely not touching Tyler Asafawanga. Definitely not touching Kelvin Banks. In terms of players you can maybe go, Trevor Penning, they need some offensive line help at the right tackle. He has experience there. Landon Young, Josiah Ziram, another player to possibly consider. I think that it might be tough to let go some of the offensive linemen that you have on the roster, because you do have a nice foundation there. So I do think it is important to consider keeping the offensive linemen. So that's why I went with a 4th-round pick here. But this is my trade package. It is important to consider this. It takes 2 to tango when making a trade. We can want Jauan Jennings all we want. The Saints can offer up all they want. But if the 49ers view Jauan Jennings as a part of their long-term plans, and if they want to keep him around, they're going to keep him around. I personally believe the Saints should kick the tires on this. I think that it would be smart to consider this option, and I'm definitely interested in trading for Jauan Jennings. I think that he would be a really nice addition to this roster, but I think ultimately, when this is all said and done, he's going to stick around in San Francisco. I do think the 49ers need a player like Jauan Jennings on the roster. I don't necessarily have a ton of faith in that team. Like, I know that they're still a good roster, and I know that they're still a talented football team, but, I'm going to just be honest. I don't love their offensive line situation. They lost Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk is always up in arms about something. So, outside of Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Jauan Jennings kind of their best option in terms of an offensive weapon for Brock Purdy. So I do think ultimately he's going to stick around in San Francisco. I, again, would love to do that trade, but another thing to consider for the New Orleans Saints is players up for extension. Chris Olave, obviously, the Saints picked up his 5th-year option this offseason, but you're going to want to pay him big money and long-term money here probably next offseason, because you're going to probably get good production out of him. Fingers crossed, hopefully. I'm trying to speak it into existence. But same with Rashid Shaheed. You're going to want to possibly keep him around. Alontae Taylor, he's also up for an extension. Trevor Penning, if he works out at guard, you're definitely going to want to keep him around. So when it comes to the conversation, reminder, I think Jauan Jennings will likely want around $20 million, but you also have these guys that you got to invest in. You also have other players that you got to invest in. And so we'll have to see how this all ends up shaking out. Again, I think it makes sense to potentially consider it. I think you should kick the tires. And if Jauan Jennings does not want to be around in San Francisco anymore, then the Saints should try to take advantage of that situation and make something happen. Now, would you accept a trade? We're going to go back to my idea. Let me know in the comments section. Type A for accept, type D for decline. Would you accept Jauan Jennings for a 4th-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft? Now, if you guys want more content in between these videos, I already posted a little bit about my thoughts on the Jauan Jennings topic on my social media accounts. You would have seen that had you been following me. So hit me up on X, Instagram, and TikTok. We're flying on all 3 platforms, and I want you to join the flight. So Who Dat Nation, y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.